Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone on a pretty brisk Monday evening is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
Man, I'm good. It's kind of felt like football weather these last couple days, so it's good. The start of the season's right around the corner, and we're starting to place those year-long bets.
Jimmy, the Browns have until tomorrow to cut down to their final 53, or their first 53, I should say. There'll be some finagling once roster cuts are made on the back end of the roster. They did have a dress rehearsal preseason game on Saturday. What did you think of what you saw from the first unit?
Jerome Ford, I thought, looked pretty good. Unsurprisingly, Joe Flacco looked like the first adult quarterback we've seen this year for the Cleveland Browns. Like, he had control of what was going on. There was, Joe Flacco's not going to look nervous or skittish. He may throw an interception, but he's just going to get rid of the football and live to see the next play. I just think the first unit is incredibly not good enough. I think that's just what it comes down to. I don't think there is a difference maker in the skill positions. I just don't think there is. Now, Njoku really played well with Flacco, so maybe he'll get some juice. I don't know what Judy's going to look like. You figure most of those receiving yards that Joe Flacco threw for in those handful of games he went to Amari. So the wide receivers don't really know what Flacco's like. Flacco doesn't know what they're like. So I just think I think the offense is going to really struggle. I think first team ones against ones, I think the Browns offense is going to be a bottom tier offense all year. The defense may be okay. There are parts of the defense I think still need to get better, but there are parts of the defense. There are parts of the defense that, if they're healthy, I think can be quite good. The defensive line, we've talked about it. The defensive line has to be the strong suit. It has to be, and your superstar cornerbacks have to be healthy and be on the field. But the defensive line is going to have to be the best unit for this team to be even remotely successful, I believe.
They've got to get a pass rush, because if quarterbacks can sit back there for 2-3 seconds, like, the secondary is just not going to be able to hold up. They're too beat up over there, and even if they weren't beat up, you've talked about how Emerson really failed to rise to the occasion last year when they put more on his plate. Now he's injured, so he's just going to be out. And you start looking at the name of guys, or you start looking at the guys who are behind him and taking over those two. It's like, I didn't think their third cornerback was good enough before their number 2 quarterback got hurt. And now your number 3 is your number 2. And your number 4 is your number 3. And it's like, oh man, that's probably going to get pretty ugly pretty quick. And they don't get any favors from the schedule with Cincinnati coming to town the first week. You expect Joe Burrow to probably light it up. Maybe Ward continues his success against Chase, but they still have T. Higgins. They still have other weapons that they can use.
They do.
And man, if they come out and look disjointed against if they come out and look disjointed against that Cincinnati defense, oh boy, does that not bode well for the rest of the season, because that Cincinnati defense is just bad. I don't think it matters who's the coordinator. They don't have talent over there, and they're just bad.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not some form of scoring drive after some form of scoring drive a lot against that defense, it will be foreshadowing for what the season is going to be. And I hope Stefanski's got something cooked up, because they got to get that win week 1.
Yes, they do.
I don't see another one for about a month. So they've got to figure out how to beat Cincinnati week 1.
What did you think of the second unit? Dillon Gabriel getting a lot of props. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Dillon Gabriel looks like a guy who's played a ton of quarterback at a high level in his recent life. Like, I mean, he's played for big schools and big conferences against NFL caliber talent, and it shows. Like, the problem is just the height. Like, it's the depth of the drop back. It's how fast and almost furied he has to move to get to a throwing lane. But he's looked good. He looks like he understands what he's doing. I would have no problem, I think, with Dillon Gabriel as the backup, but it does seem like they're saying Pickett's healthy and Pickett's going to be the 2 to put Gabriel at the 3, which I think is weird, but that's what it appears to be.
They just love them some Kenny Pickett, Jimmy.
Yeah, I know. For whatever the reason, they love Kenny Pickett.
Well, Jimmy, Baker went to Tampa and was good. And, Geno went to Seattle and he was good. And Sam Darnold was in Minnesota, and he was good. And now if you look at the list of quarterbacks that you're thinking, well, who can we take a flyer on that might end up being good? They're like, oh, we'll go get Kenny Pickett. But they're thinking of it in those terms. They're not thinking of it in the Mac Jones terms.
Gotcha.
Or the Daniel Jones. Well, we're not quite to the Daniel Jones terms yet, but after this season, when Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback, we'll understand what's going on there. But we'll talk about our AFC picks here coming up in a little bit. Jimmy, the big news out of Saturday, though, is Shedeur Sanders. I'm sure there were a lot of things in his performance Saturday that really stood out to you, and they're things that you've brought up before. What were your thoughts?
Before I get into my thoughts, the first thing I'm going to say is, of course, the Cleveland Browns are now trying to sabotage a player. Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry would.
No, it's ridiculous.
They would sacrifice a live goat to get a quarterback. So they're not sabotaging a player.
How high on the cute index of animals do you think they'd sacrifice? They wouldn't sacrifice a horse. There'd be too much blowback. But where you don't have to answer that. I just, it's a fun thought experiment.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of closed doors in Berea, man. I'm not sure there's a limit. But I will say for Shedeur, it is unfair that a 5th round draft pick is being judged so harshly on both sides. He's being judged like he was a 1st round draft pick. He was a 5th round draft pick who played poorly against a better unit than he played the first time, but still bad backups.
Yeah. He's playing against 3rd and 4th stringers. Those guys won't be on an NFL field. And the guys he's playing with, so most of those linemen that he had were cut. That gives you an idea of who was blocking for him. But I watched the playback of all of his snaps, and he's just holding the ball too long, which is something you've talked about. He tried to do that backwards running thing, which you've talked about. I just watched that, and I was thinking, oh, man, this was everything Jimmy was talking about a month or so ago.
He just clearly doesn't see it. The anticipation isn't there. I mean, there's one of the main clips going around where everybody was talking about how bad the line was. He's got an absolutely clear pocket. There are 2 wide receivers cutting over the middle. There's a space in the field where the ball should come out and go to, and the play turned into a 12-yard sack loss. He just doesn't. He's not there yet. Doesn't mean he won't get there. Just means he's not there yet.
He's really got to learn to throw it away instead of trying to do his
he
pirouette backwards he's prime Russell Wilson. Dude, that move. NFL defenders have seen that move. You're not fast enough to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is he is not athletic enough to play quarterback the way he's trying to play quarterback. He's got great arm talent, so he needs to stay in the pocket and in 2 seconds know where to throw the football. And he doesn't have a clue. At least that's what it seems like.
Yeah. But what did you make of Stefanski pulling him on that final drive when they put Huntley in, and Huntley just marched him right down the field, and they let the guy that might be taking over for Hopkins kick a field goal there? Do you think they might kick Hopkins to the curb after signing him to that contract?
I think the move, just because of the money, I think they'll keep Hopkins and try to put him on the practice squad, is what I think they'll try to do. As far as the move, I wasn't surprised. After the poor possession, Shedeur took a long walk before he came back to the sideline, and then he never got back in the game. Kevin Stefanski made sure Baker Mayfield left town because Baker Mayfield would at times challenge Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
But you had a poor possession, and instead of coming over to your coaching staff, you took a long walk to be away from your team and then came back and put a towel over your head. That's never going to be acceptable to Kevin Stefanski. I can't believe how many people were surprised he didn't put him back in. Like, I feel like people aren't paying attention to what Kevin Stefanski values and doesn't value, what he likes, what he doesn't like. It did not surprise me at all.
It seemed like he was trying to win the game.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have said. That he felt like.
And I guess I'm of two minds of this. I guess you want to see, if you're thinking about moving on from Hopkins, you want to see what his potential replacement does in a high-pressure situation. That's something you want to see. I understand that. And you don't think Sanders is going to be able to do that, but now you have just told your rookie quarterback that you're supposed to be building trust with this guy, and you just told him, I don't trust you. And this is the real big pitfall that we get because they took two quarterbacks in the draft. Like, it's just madness because you don't trust him because you haven't seen enough of him. Well, it's like, well, he hasn't had a real opportunity to do everything because there's three guys ahead of him on a depth chart. Now, one of those guys got hurt, and that helped him get maybe some more reps. But it's just the whole quarterback thing. This is going to be a mess. Like, I think people need to understand that this is going to be a mess. Joe Flacco looked old and bad last year. He did not look anything like the quarterback the Browns had. Maybe he can put something together for the first few weeks, but Kenny Pickett couldn't make it through training camp without getting hurt. Dillon Gabriel missed significant time, and he's small. So if they get a few injuries on the offensive line, he's going to get hit. Who knows how long he lasts? Shedeur doesn't seem like he's going to be able to avoid sacks on a consistent basis. Week 5 or 6, you're going to have Deshaun Watson coming in, who hasn't played a full season and who knows how long. Like, we may see Tyler Huntley again before the year's over, man.
Breaking news, the Browns just traded Kenny Pickett.
Oh, what'd they get for him?
Like a 5th-round pick.
Oh, I'm sure they'll find a way to spin that as a win because they trade trade DTR and a.
Yeah,
it's just good. But that's what they should have done. They shouldn't even have brought Kenny Pickett in. Like, that's the problem. Like, he just So now all of that work that they did, bringing Kenny Pickett up to speed, was time they could have spent with their rookie quarterbacks that they didn't.
Like, I don't. Yeah. So I don't disagree with anything you said, but I feel like where you said, and I think it's the difference between playing in two very, very weak conferences with your dad as your head coach to now having a real job in the NFL. Because you say Kevin Stefanski is supposed to be building trust with Shedeur Sanders, but we know how Kevin Stefanski is. How can I put you back out there if you will not throw the ball when you're supposed to throw the ball?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the rub for Shedeur, because everybody's been like, hey, the Browns are going to be so bad, they're all going to get to play. If the way Shedeur tried to play in that second half is how he's going to play, he will never see the field for Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. That was the biggest problem with Baker, right? Baker wanted to improv. Baker wanted to do his own thing. He didn't want to do what was being laid out for him. Like, I just think Shedeur, he's got to learn. He's got to grow. You've got to get better at just getting rid of the ball. But I still agree with your original statement. If Deshaun Watson gets healthy, he'll play some this year.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be cleared. He's going to be cleared medically, and he's going to show up and say, I'm cleared to play medically. I'm back. I'm ready to report to the team. And it's going to be news. And it's going to be another huge distraction that this team has to deal with on top of Shedeur Sanders. And before just maybe as a little segue away from the Browns into the rest of the AFC, even though I'm going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, people are making the joke that Jerry Jones just wants the Cowboys to be in the news. And I'm starting to think that maybe the Browns are the same way. They just want to make sure they're in the news. They want to make sure they're talked about. And that's why they went after Shedeur Sanders. Because on top of everything else that they're dealing with, it's just a huge headache for a guy who's probably not going to play until after like week 12.
Yeah.
I don't understand. It takes away time from being able to develop the guy they seem to love in Dillon Gabriel. Yeah. Just none of it makes any sense. His team just continues to be a mess.
Yeah.
And if they're bad this year, we talked about it in our previous pod with Ron. Like probably nobody's getting fired. Like they're probably going to get a pass this year.
I feels like they're always going to get a pass.
That's right. Remember, Jimmy, it's DePodesta's numbers don't find them winning players, and neither does Andrew Berry. But Kevin Stefanski doesn't coach him up, even though he doesn't have good players. So it's nobody's fault. It's everybody's fault, but it's nobody's fault. The blame is shared equally, and then that way nobody is actually, accountable.
I have seen like a group of people online who are like, I'm so confused by all the people who have told me Kevin Stefanski is a great evaluator of a quarterback, but are also pissed off at the way he's handling Shedeur Sanders. Like I'm enjoying those people. Like they're going in circles and they can't figure it out. But he is he is 2-time coach of the year, man.
That's how many divisions Baker Mayfield has won with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Throwing for more than 4,000 yards in a season. I don't know. Maybe they should have tried to make it work with that guy instead of running him out. Maybe instead of like after he won a playoff game talking about how bad he is and why they don't want to sign him long term.
Yeah, maybe find a way for him to grow up and mature within the organization instead of with another one.
Yeah, maybe build him up instead of tearing him down. I don't know. Maybe they can try that approach.
That's some crazy shit, man.
Well, we did our AFC North predictions. We did that with Ron. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description of that podcast so you can hear what our thoughts were there. Jimmy, would you like to just quickly recap what order you had the AFC North in this year?
Yeah, that's fine. I think the Ravens' additions to defense make them one of the best teams in the AFC. So I have the Ravens winning the division. I have the Steelers actually finishing second and making the playoffs, and then the Bengals and the Browns.
I have Baltimore, and man, I haven't even thought. I have Pittsburgh on the over, and I have Cincinnati on the under. I just think that Cincinnati defense is really bad. Looking at their schedule, even if they get 4 in the division, 2 in the NFC North, 2 in the AFC East, you're still going to need to steal 2 from your out-of-conference games. You do have Denver, you have Jacksonville, but, I mean, even then, that's 10. That's only 10. So I don't know. Maybe Pittsburgh does finish ahead of Cincinnati. It wouldn't surprise. I mean, it happened last year, so it shouldn't surprise anybody, even though the odds makers would be shocked by that.
Yep.
Let's head to some of the other divisions here in the AFC. Let's start in the AFC East with, if there was a sibling franchise to the Cleveland Browns and the Cleveland Browns fan base, it would be the Buffalo Bills and the Bills Mafia. They have a special history of heartache that really connects to the Cleveland area's sports teams. Jimmy, there's a lot of variance in where you can find, or at what number you can find the Buffalo Bills. You can find them at 11.5. You can find them at 12.5. Depending on where you go, you can get them minus 155 on the over at 11.5. You can get them at minus 135 on the under at 12.5. They're generally around plus 600, 750 for the Super Bowl, plus 300 to 350 for the conference, and right around minus 300 pretty much everywhere for the division. Do you think how many games do you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this year?
To me, they're firmly in that 11 to 13 range. I took the over at 11.5. I think they're looking at 12, 13. They do have, they have some marquee matchups. They play a lot of the best teams in the NFL this year. So that will make a difference. And I think they're going to lose one game in division. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. I mean, they play a lot of heavy hitters, but I think their ceiling is like 11 wins, or their floor is like 11 wins, and their ceiling, I think, is 13.
I think they could win as many as 14, 15 games.
Wow.
You have them losing 1 in the division, or did you say 2?
1 in division.
Yeah, I was doing my math. Even if they drop a second game in the division to somebody, like they just lose a stupid one, I actually think this team's ceiling is probably closer to 14, 15.
Wow.
Because I don't think Pittsburgh can score with them. I don't think the Browns can anything with them. And that Cincinnati game is probably going to have a lot of points, but it's probably going to wind up like most of those shootouts do for Cincinnati, with them on the losing side against the better team.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then they get the NFC South. Like 3-1 in the NFC South is just there for the taking. And if they go 4-0, nobody's going to be surprised.
Nope.
So I just think this they're really good. They're going to stack wins. They're going to win that division easily and probably lose in the second or third round, depending on when they play Kansas City.
Yeah. I do think if either of them have anything left, I think the additions of Joey Bosa and Tre'Davious White were huge on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, if they can keep those guys on the field throughout the season and have them ready for the big games, those guys can definitely be difference makers. Yeah. How far do you have Buffalo going this year, Jimmy? Is this the year you think they break through?
No. I think they win. I think they win. I think the Bills win a playoff game. The way my
you think it's pretty much same as always.
Yeah, well, I guess same song, different verse, because the way my bracket broke down this year, I think the Texans beat them in the second round instead of the Chiefs.
And that would be progress for Houston and regression for Buffalo, because Houston's never made it out of the second round.
Nope.
Well, let's move on to the very trendy team in the AFC East, and that is the New England Patriots.
Let's talk about them, buddy.
Their over-under sits at 8.5 at most places. You can maybe find 7.5 somewhere, but at 8.5, the over is even, the under is -120. Jimmy, do the New England Patriots win more or less than 88.5 games?
Oh, bud, this is a steal. The Patriots have an easy schedule. I believe they now have the two best coaches in the AFC East with their offensive coordinator and their head coach. I like Drake May. If there was ever a coach that Stephon Diggs was just going to shut up and listen to, it would be this coaching staff. I think the Patriots get to double digits easily. Like, to me, this is a no-sweat bet.
At first, I thought this would be an under because I don't think this team's quite as good as everybody says they are. But then I looked again, and everything you just said was just glaring me in the face.
Yeah.
I like to look at the schedule. AFC North, NFC South, probably 4 or 5 wins there. And, I mean, they get 3 in the division. You're already looking at 7, 8 wins, and then they get Vegas, the Giants, and Tennessee. I'm with you. I think they get to 10. Or, well, I don't know if they get to 10. I know they hit the over. They definitely get to 9, and I think they make the playoffs, which you can get plus odds on right now.
Yep.
Up next, we have the Miami Dolphins, who are a team unlike the New England Patriots. They seem like they've peaked and they're regressing. Yeah. Their over-under is basically sitting at 7.5, and if it's 7.5, it's basically -110 on both sides. If you find it at 8.5, it's basically like plus 160 on both sides. What do you expect for this Miami team? Do you think they can bounce back, or is it just going in the tank this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the weapons, the offensive skill weapons are still really good. And when Tua is healthy and in warm weather, he plays really well, but he plays games in cold weather and he always gets hurt. Defensively, it was weird. Like, they actually turned over their entire starting secondary.
This is probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea, but that's going to take a while, I figure, for that to come together. I think they're the definition of an average middle NFL team. I took them under at 8.5. I would probably take it over at 7.5, but I think 8 wins is like ceiling for this team.
I agree. I think the under at 8.5 is definitely where you want to be. That number has been bet down to 7.5 in a lot of places, so there you go. That's where the sharps are on this team.
Yep.
They're going to have to play AFC North teams, and they're going to have to be tough in those games, and we've seen Miami not be able to be tough. They can't beat good teams when they were at their best, and I don't think they're at their best this year. I think they're a bottle rocket. I was scouring a little bit of the Miami Dolphins Reddit page just to get a gauge on what people are thinking, and it is interesting to see how many people think Mike Macdonald's been figured out as a head coach or as a play caller.
I mean, I think that's fair.
I found that really surprising. They have so much talent there, And it does seem like when Tua's out, nothing works. And even when Tua's in there, sometimes stuff doesn't work. Not at all like what we see in Minnesota, where they just seem to be able to throw quarterbacks in there and get average quarterback play from guys that were like, that dude's not a good player. How did you do that?
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I just don't think, I mean, all signs point to this being Tyreek's last year in Miami. So I wonder how engaged he's going to be. And we know
he's gonna wind up in Kansas City next year. That's what's
yeah. I mean, if Tyreek checks out a little bit, his performance usually goes down. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if things start really bad there. Does he end up getting traded? Because a motivated Tyreek Hill can be a difference maker for somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm just thinking of one of the teams, like if you're Buffalo or Baltimore, that seems like the sort of thing you have to try to make happen.
Yep.
Just even if it just keeps him away from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about the AFC East, we have to talk about the New York Jets. Our very good friend Brandon is from Brooklyn. He is a Jets fan. This is another team that understands the futility of rooting for a team that's just awful. Their over-under sits at 5.5. Jimmy, is there any hope on the horizon for this franchise with Aaron Glenn as their new head coach?
Yeah, I think there's hope on that. I think Aaron Glenn is a really, really good coach. I think the defense will be better just with Aaron Glenn being in the room. I still like a couple of their weapons. This we'll find out if Fields can play quarterback, right? Like he's going to get that opportunity, and we'll see how it goes.
I think we know.
Fair enough.
He has moments where he flashes, but when it comes to being consistent week in, week out, it almost seems like there's a deja vu factor. He doesn't play for a little while, and then he plays for somebody, and he's like all good for like a couple of games, and then he's totally figured out, and he's just done. I feel like that's what's going to happen for the Jets. I'm an under on the Jets this year.
Yeah, I see. I think their ceiling is 5 wins. Like I just don't see where they can get to 6 wins.
Yeah.
So I'm all over the under there.
All right, let's head to the AFC West, where a lot of interesting stuff going on in the odds.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs are the favorites. Their over-under has been bet up to 11.5 in a lot of places. You can still try and find it at 10.5. At 10.5, it's generally around plus 143 on the under, minus 160 on the over. For 11.5, you get more traditional odds at plus 115 for the over, minus 135 for the under. They're plus around 800 to win the Super Bowl, right around 350, 400 to win the conference. And the number that really stood out to me, Jimmy, is you're getting minus 110 to minus 120 for them to win the division. I love that division winning bet because I think Kansas City is just going to stack a bunch of wins because it's what they always do. What do you expect Kansas City to look like after that drubbing they got in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll come back. I think the thing I appreciate about the Chiefs that I love about really good organizations, and there are a handful of them in the AFC, like the Chiefs identified their problems. They went out and they added depth in every key position on defense, and they drafted a stud left tackle from The Ohio State University with the last pick in the first round. I'm still surprised they didn't make a splash, try to steal a wide receiver somehow, but I just think they think between Xavier Worthy, Juju, Rashee Rice, Kelsey, Noah Gray, they feel like they can be okay at wide receiver. But I just love that they looked at that Super Bowl and said, okay, we didn't have enough guys to slow down the Eagles' run, so let's go get guys. Yeah. And we didn't have enough guys to block, let's go get guys, and they went and did it. I took the over at 11.5. I feel the same way with them as I do with Buffalo. Like, they have a lot of marquee games against really good teams, but I think they'll be in that 12-13 range, no problem.
They always dominate the division. I mean, they're just look at the last 7 seasons with Mahomes, and it's just 6 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins, 6 wins. And they get the AFC South, that's 3 or 4 wins. And they get the NFC East, which is probably going to be 2 pretty easy. 2 games that they should win and a third that they might be able to, or that
Yep.
they should be able to.
Yeah.
They're just good. They're the class of the AFC until proven otherwise, and
Yep.
Philadelphia's defensive front taking over doesn't change that for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Up next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, a trendy pick to dethrone the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid-led Kansas City Chiefs. Their under is sitting around 9.5. Jimmy, do the Chargers win more or less than 9.5 games?
Yeah, I think they get to 10 or 11. They'll make the playoffs. I mean, I still like the team. I think talent-wise, Justin Herbert is one of the most gifted quarterbacks in the league, but he just doesn't have that thing that the guys that win in probable playoff games win. And it's not a knock on his talent. He just hasn't shown that in that spot he can break through. But I still think they have a good roster. I think they have a good team. I think they have a great coach. I think getting to 10-11 will be pretty easy for the Chargers.
Their defense was so good last year. You don't expect there to be a ton of regression there because they're still just really good. They're also young in a lot of places. Yep. Harbaugh's a good coach. They're going to lean on running the football. Herbert will get all the smoke blown up his ass in the regular season before he loses in the first round, probably throwing 3 interceptions again, because that seems to be what he does. He just doesn't have the makeup to do it. And I've been very critical of people like Kyler Murray, who have completely shit the bed in their playoff performances, or in Kyler Murray's case, playoff performance, singular. Yeah. It just, at some point, you are what you are, and Justin Herbert hasn't had to play many big games in his NFL career, but the handful of times he has had to play a game to win, he just hasn't been good, and that can't be ignored. So this team's going to win a bunch of games. They're going to hit their over. They'll make the playoffs, and then I'm going to be heavy against the Chargers in the first round.
You know, the thing is it's one of the things we get into, right, is where it's like, it's okay to be a guy that's the Hall of Very Good. Like, it's okay to be a guy who's really good, but not great. Because here's the thing. Justin Herbert is probably a top 10 quarterback talent in the NFL. But in the first round of the playoffs, he's either going to face, in my opinion, he's either going to face Mahomes, Lamar, CJ, or Josh. He's not better than any one of those quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Yeah, which is why I'll push back on the Hall of Very Good. He's just an average quarterback. He puts up big numbers. Well, I guess he puts up pretty good numbers in the regular season, but the playoff stuff can't be ignored.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
We were people, and there were some others out there that really bashed Lamar Jackson for not being a playoff performer. And it was fair to criticize Lamar, and it's fair to criticize Justin Herbert. Him showing up in the top 5 of some of these quarterback lists is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
It's absolutely
I don't care what he looks like in shorts and a T-shirt or how majestic it is when he throws the ball. He clearly isn't a good quarterback when the game's on the line, and that's when it matters.
Yep, I agree.
Up next, another super trendy team, the Denver Broncos. Jimmy, Sean Payton, his friends in the media love them some Denver Broncos. Their over-under sits at 9.5. I've heard people say this is a Super Bowl caliber team. Do you agree with those sentiments? What do you think of this team?
As much as I thought it was easy money on the Patriots over, I think it's also easy money on the Broncos under. I do not think. I think a lot of what happened last year was wonky and fluky. I don't think they'll steal some of those wins this year. I got the Broncos under all the way.
I'm with you. Last year, this was an easy over when they were, I think it was at 5.5. And they were sort of like the Patriots this year, where you just looked at the schedule and it's like, man, if they just like somewhat show up on defense, they'll win 7 games. It's not going to be the same this year. They do get the AFC South. So I was doing the math. Say they get 5 against the AFC South and NFC East. You're hoping for 3, maybe 4 in division, but now you got to sneak another win against Green Bay, Cincinnati, or the Jets. Like it's a really thin margin, and I don't think Bo Nix is very good.
Yeah, I'm the same. I looked at it and felt the exact same way.
So here's some Bo Nix stats: 18th in QBR, that's average. 15th in EPA. His air yards 29th. A lot of dink and dunk. He also had a lot of interceptions for a lot of dink and dunk. They just don't have a lot of downfield passing, which is why when they played good teams, Bo Nix struggled. And they really got lit up in that playoff game.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
So this is another team I look at and think they're in the morass of the middle. They're one of those teams that's probably going to toggle back and forth from the playoffs based on what their schedule looks like.
Yep.
Up next, the Las Vegas Raiders, who, should we just call them the Seattle Seahawks South?
I love it. I love it.
Pete Carroll and Geno Smith come to town. The over-under sits at 6.5. It was at 7.5 very recently. Now most places have it at 6.5. Jimmy, when I looked at this, my first thought was this seems low considering their schedule, but Vegas definitely doesn't Vegas doesn't like this team. What do you think of this team?
Well, me and Vegas are going to disagree. Until he's like in a retirement home somewhere talking about the good old days, I'm always going to trust Pete Carroll. I think there are some teams that should be able to beat Vegas, but will lose simply because they'll be out-coached. I think Chip Kelly is going to throw. I think one of the sneakiest signings this offseason was Raheem Mostert to Vegas, because I think Chip Kelly's going to throw 7,000 screen passes to Genty, Mostert, and Brock Bowers, and I think they win 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, that's a professional football team. Geno's going to be a competent quarterback. He'll have his ups and downs, but his ups will outweigh his downs, at least overall. And it'll be a question of how good can the Raiders' defense be. But I'm looking at their schedule. They get the AFC South and the NFC East. If you can win, say, 4 games there, you're already halfway home. Get two in the division. Now you're at 6. And that's with only 2 in the division. If you sneak a third, now you just need to go 1-2 against New England, Cleveland, and Chicago. And I think that's very doable.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. When I like, and you could just, like, I watched some of their preseason because I wanted to see what Genty looked like, and Pete Carroll looked like he re-energized a fairly talented defense. Like, they're not quite there, but they're good enough. I think if they beat Denver twice and the Chargers once, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
So, I think, I do. I could
see Pete Carroll coming up with something that really confuses Drake May. They steal a game against a team in New England that may be better. Like, we both think is going to be better than they're going to make the playoffs. And then you get Cleveland and Chicago. Like, you can throw something together to confuse Caleb Williams. You could go 3-0 in those New England, Cleveland, Chicago games. That is not out of the question, which is why I like them at plus 300 to plus 350 to make the playoffs.
That's not bad. Squeaking in one of those last spots, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's just, again, I look at it and it's like New England's. So I have, just to recap the AFC. My division winners are Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, and Kansas City. And then, man, the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. New England's going to make the playoffs. It's a question of who gets that last spot. And Vegas can sneak it, but like I said, I'm putting some money on this because of the odds. I don't always do bets like this, but I think it's worth a flyer.
It's good odds because I really think that, I have the Steelers with the last playoff spot. I think they'll have a tiebreaker over Cincinnati, but I think 9 to 10 wins will get you into the playoffs in the AFC in that last wild card spot.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's move to the final division in the AFC, and it has traditionally been the worst division. The Houston Texans are currently the team to beat. Their over-under sits at 9.5, and I was really surprised to see that, Jimmy. And they're also, you can get plus 110 odds for them to win the division, which just seems silly. I feel like this is an easy over, and I feel like they're going to win this division fairly easily.
Yeah, I don't understand. I think it's just there are some people, it's like a combination where, there are just people that are just Shane Steichen, Indianapolis Colts fans, and then people just love Trevor Lawrence. I don't get it. I agree with you. I think the Texans are going to be the number 2 seed. I think they have an
Wow.
easy schedule combined with an even better roster than they had last year. If
Yeah,
Nick Chubb,
you would think that they'll have a little bit better health than they have.
yeah, I do. I think they're the number 2 seed in the
Do
AFC.
you think Nick Chubb has anything left? I've seen
I don't know.
quite a few reports that he just doesn't seem to have the burst anymore. That everything else is there. He just doesn't have that extra gear that made him special.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit if right now, so far, he hasn't had that burst, and then week 1, Batman shows up.
I would like to see it. Nick Chubb was always a class act here, and he always played his heart out.
Yeah, I'm not going to discredit it until I've seen that it's not there. But I just think the combination of the schedule, the skill, I think they got better on the offensive line,
which is where they had to get better.
And they did. They drafted like a DeJuan Jones big guy. They drafted a big dude. They went out and tried to go after their offensive line. They tried to go after a little bit more depth on defense. With Tank Dell out, they were like, man, we need some wide receivers. Iowa State's got 2 wide receivers. I don't know which one's going to be better, so we'll just draft both of them. Fuck it.
Yeah, I like the commitment to the things. You know what? You just take them both.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely great. But yeah, I do. I think they're going to be the 2 seed in the AFC this year.
Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who you just talked about. This team, man, when I heard they were picking up Daniel Jones, I sort of flirted with the idea that maybe they could squeeze 9-10 wins out. But what if Sarkisian's just not that good of a head coach?
Yeah.
So on my second look, they're at 7.5 for their over-under. I think this is an under, even though the schedule's not that onerous. I think they're going to be bad.
Yeah, I think they're gonna lose a lot of games. I don't think their roster is very good. They have a couple young wide receivers who might be something, and there's probably going to be 1 to 3 games that they win simply because Jonathan Taylor is a beast. But daggum, it's not going to be able to carry them to 8 wins. I think their ceiling is 6-7, so I'm on the under here.
Thinking about Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback, because I don't think Anthony Richardson's happening. He's just you can't not see that blitz on that. That's happening in the preseason. He just left himself wide open to a hit. He just didn't see it. That's college level stuff, but he didn't really play a whole lot of quarterback. So, you know what it kind of reminded me of? It reminded me of what people talk about why boxers and MMA fighters can't really have a true fight, because boxers have no idea what it's like to try to block a kick.
Right.
It's just totally out of the realm of what they do, and that's what it looked like with Anthony Richardson playing quarterback. It's he doesn't know the basics of how to defend that, and it's just it's prohibitive. It means he can't do this. He can't be a quarterback in the NFL. Sorry. And I was flirting with the idea of them being okay, but even if the defense is good, it's probably not going to be as good as the Giants' defense was last year. And the Giants got good quarterback play, or got good running back play behind Daniel Jones, and I think Malik Neighbors is pretty good. So, I don't see how this situation's any different than what he had in New York last year. So, I don't know what I was thinking. This team's probably going to be awful.
Yeah, I think this is a bottom tier team this year.
Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their over-under sits at 7.5. Jimmy, this team, ever since I hit them on that plus 600 to win the division 2-3 years ago, they have just been the thorn in my side. Does Trevor Lawrence get them to the playoffs? What do you expect from this team? Can they win more than 7.5 games?
No, I'm on the under here as well. I think maybe with a little bit of rebuild, maybe they're still a couple pieces away. I don't think they're there. I don't think they're there yet. I am curious for the Travis Hunter experience to see what it looks like. I hope he doesn't play a lot of defensive back. I hope he plays wide receiver and he gets to be dynamic. But I just don't. This Jaguars team doesn't look to me any different than they've looked the last few years, where it's been let down. So I think it lets down again. I don't think they get to 8 wins.
I think this team, this 7.5 line kind of made me chuckle because when I was looking at their schedule, I had a lot of games where I was just sort of like, like out of that block of 3, maybe they win 1, they might sneak 2. And there was a lot of that where it was like sort of 50-50 on do they win 1 of 3 or 2 of 3. And I realized that this team's probably either going to win 5 games or 10.
That's fair. That's
which you can get good positive odds on both of those. And I'm considering it. We'll see. But I'm with you overall. I think this is an under. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is good enough to elevate the guys around him, and I don't think they have enough talent the rest of that offense to make up for it.
Yep, I agree.
The consensus right now would be that like Baker's better than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Geno's better than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
He's got 1 playoff win, and it's against Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Man, Justin Herbert just gets such a skate, man.
Oh, I agree.
They're just mesmerized by how beautiful he throws the ball.
For him to be on a list ahead of Jalen Hurts is criminal.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That makes me angry. Anyway, let's wrap things up in the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans. They draft Cam Ward. Their over-under sits at 5.5. What do you expect from the Tennessee Titans this year, Jimmy?
I think if Cam Ward is good, the Tennessee Titans could be okay this year. I think they added a lot of weapons, and if Cam Ward can figure it out quick, I think they could be an okay football team. I'm taking the under, but if they got to 6, 7, 8, I don't know if I'd be that surprised.
I'd be pretty surprised because I don't think Bill Callahan is cut out to be an NFL head coach.
Oh, come on.
I'm skeptical, very skeptical. And I like everything I hear out of Tennessee with Cam Ward getting there early, working with the rookies, doing all the extra stuff, doing everything you expect him to do. I just think that team's bad. I think they've got a bad defense. I think overall on offense, they're not good. I don't think people really, because nobody really paid attention to Tennessee last year, nobody understands just how bad they were defensively. I mean, they were awful.
Oh, I agree. They were awful. Yeah, they were awful.
So even with a few additions here and there, it's not going to be good. It's going to be a bad season for them. They're going to be in rough shape.
Yeah, it's something we always talk about every year is we have to remember there are going to be like a group of like 5 to 8 teams that are going to be really bad.
Yeah, it's how it works out every year.
Not everybody's going to win 8 games. Not everybody's going to win 8 games. Somebody's going to win 3, 4, 5, So
what are your final thoughts on the AFC, Jimmy? Who do you have in the championship game and who do you have going to the Super Bowl?
So the way my bracket broke down, I have the Chiefs at the 1 seed with the bye. Then I have it as Texans, Ravens, Bills, Patriots, Chargers, Steelers. Then I have the Ravens finally knocking off the Chiefs.
Wow.
The Texans beating the Bills, and the Ravens make it to a Super Bowl.
Wow. I don't think that's crazy, but I don't know how many more of these, if not this year, when we can have with Baltimore and Buffalo.
No, I totally agree with you.
And I said when we talked to Ron, if you're not betting Kansas City every single year to win the conference, you're doing yourself a disservice because you would have won that bet 5 out of 7 times at like plus 300 odds. So that's a really good moneymaker. And I think as long as the Chiefs keep doing it, you have to make that bet. And not to be boring, but I think Kansas City's still the class of the AFC. And it has to be proven that Josh Allen can be big in a big moment. Because he's had opportunities against Kansas City the last 2 years. He's had the ball in his hand and needing a field goal to tie or take the lead, and he has not been able to move the ball and get them to position to win the game.
Yep, yeah.
And we know all about Lamar's struggles. So,
I think this will be Sean McDermott's last year as the Buffalo Bills head coach.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't break through this year, you have to.
Yep,
like you've reached the Tony Dungy Tampa Bay Buccaneers point, or it's like you just got to get somebody in there that's different.
projecting out what a team's going to look like for, all these games is hard to do, but my beliefs for what the Ravens are going to do this year really doesn't see Lamar getting any better. I just think the defense elevated in like the two spots where they weren't really good.
Yeah.
I think they added absolute studs in the only two spots where you could get them. And now I don't think you're going to be able to score enough points against them and stop their offense. I just, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Will I be shocked? Will I be shocked if the Chiefs are the AFC representative in the Super Bowl and I'm eating crow on this? Not at all. But I just think those additions, and it's hard to believe Lamar has an extra gear. Like, it's hard to believe he could go to another gear, especially without having more playmakers. But Josh Allen being gifted that MVP last year has to piss him off.
Yeah, but I think you really hit it there. The problem they have is they don't have enough difference makers in the passing game.
And
they don't seem to trust their running game in those big deciding playoff games. I don't know if that's a product of the defense overloading and forcing them to throw the ball.
Right.
Because the game, I mean, we've watched these playoff games, and it just seems like, wow, they've just really abandoned the run. I don't know. Is it a look in their planning that they don't want to run against? That's maybe more inside baseball than we have, than we're privy to. But it has seemed confusing that they have gone away from what works for them best.
I think it might be more of, because of those couple weak spots on defense, they thought they needed to score more points than they did.
Yeah, which is odd, because you would think Harbaugh would be smart enough to realize that if you're running the ball a little bit more, then you take a possession or two off, and now you don't need to get to 30, you need to get to 24.
Yep.
But I don't know. Well, that's it. You have Baltimore. I have Kansas City. We think there's a lot of chalk in here, because I think this is everybody who won divisions last year: Kansas City, Houston, Buffalo, and Baltimore.
Yeah, I
think the NFL has gotten like that, though. The NFL seems to be getting more like the NBA, where you have more difference between the levels of teams. You have maybe 4 or 5 teams at the top that are really good, and then there's a pretty sizable gap, and then you have, another bulk of half a dozen teams, and then another gap.
Yep.
Man, it's just if you're an AFC team, man, good luck, because you got to get through Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, C.J. Stroud, who has now won first-round playoff games 2 years in a row. Like, that's not nothing. Like, that matters.
It matters.
So somebody's got to break into that, and you still have Joe Burrow, even though he's missed the playoffs the last 2 years. It's just there's a lot of good quarterback play.
Oh, yeah, Joe Burrow, another quarterback who's better than Justin Herbert.
Yeah, oh, yeah. All right, well, that wraps it up. And what are your final thoughts on the AFC? Anything else to add?
No, I'm just excited. Like, I think it sucks to a point. Like, I understand why they schedule it the way they do, but I think it sucks that the good teams all have to play each other during the year, because it's kind of like, well, that was your reward for being really good, is you get your out-of-conference games are really tough. But I think there's going to be some awesome football games, because you've got the Texans, Bills, Ravens, and Chiefs all play each other in some combination, most of those primetime games. And I think those are going to be some of the better games of the season.
Yeah, totally agree. Is there, other than, well, we kind of, that question doesn't need to be asked. We already kind of answered that question with New England. We think New England's going to be like sort of the out-of-nowhere team. Well, that wraps it up. I don't really have anything else to add. I think we see, like we said, there's a lot of, it's very static in the AFC, because of the good teams are really good, and it's tough to catch them, because they just play at such a high level with such good quarterback play and coaching.
Yeah, and it's just like what you said earlier is what I feel. I feel like the AFC is a lot of mid. I think there are a lot of teams that are going to win like 6 to 8 games.
Yeah.
Like I think 9 is a golden number that only like 7 teams in the AFC are going to get to. Right
on. Well, thanks for sharing your information, Jimmy. I found this very helpful, in shaping out what bets I want to make. I hope I have been helpful to you as well.
No, absolutely. I love going through these. Right, we'll do the NFC sometime soon, and just for those of you that do listen to us, like right now, just you can get great odds on betting Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, Bills to all win their division.
Yeah, and you also get great odds. I think the Philadelphia and Tampa Bay odds are really good too.
Yeah, and you can add those in with it. Like there's really good odds on. I mean, maybe you want to think the Chargers can challenge the Chiefs, but I don't think you really believe that. Like
No.
it just the chalk is what it is. Like they're giving you some free money. Like a few months from now, just go ahead and take it, man.
Yeah, and if you want to mix we'll do the NFC later, but Detroit's odds are plus 150, Minnesota 290, Green Bay 270. So if you are the type of person that thinks Detroit's still going to be really good, that plus 150 is just an awesome number to get.
Yeah,
and it reminds me, we'll talk about the NFC when they get there, but when if that's what you think, you have to make that bet. It was like last year with Buffalo. I didn't believe in the Jets, and I was all over Buffalo with the plus 150, and it was a steal.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, well, thank you for joining me, Jimmy. I appreciate your time on this Monday night.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I want to thank all of you for listening. We appreciate you. So if you would please give us a like or subscribe so you can keep up with us throughout the season. We're going to work on doing some more in-person recording this season and having more special guests to give you a different perspective, including our first out-of-state guest. So stay tuned for that as the season comes on. For Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore. Thank you for listening to No Broken Legs.